Well, when you wake up and you've slept behind a building, behind a church in an alley, you're like, hey, I would love to have a glass of water, use the bathroom, and check my messages. Well, that could take you all day if you're a homeless drug addict. You got to find a place that'll give you a glass of water that's bigger than that, or a glass of water without paying. You have to find somewhere where you can charge your phone, and then you have to also find some place that will let you use the bathroom without paying or without, Sir, you've been in there for half an hour when you just sat down. That's one of those things where, a normal person wakes up, wants to check their messages, get a glass of water, and take a shit. That takes them 10 minutes. It's not like it could take a homeless person 4 hours to find, because not all those businesses would be the same businesses. You might have to go to a grocery store to take the shit, and you might have to walk over to Burger King with a glass of water, and you might have to walk over to Starbucks to charge your phone. And that walking with a backpack and your sleeping bag and all that shit. And then the whole time, everyone's looking at you and giving you a dirty look. You feel like you're like an outlander, Like the thing is homeless people are supposed to stay on the edges of the, you God forbid you walk into Save Mart and put your bike there and actually try to grocery shop like a normal person. That's not, you're supposed to wait until 1:30 in the morning right before they close to do your shopping. Don't you know the drill? But I first really thought I had a problem. When I thought nothing of passing out in a park on a blanket in the middle of the day with all my stuff surrounded by me and just going to sleep, I would never do that in a real situation. Who does that in a real situation? I'm just gonna lie here and hope I don't get robbed, hope I don't get beaten, hope that or we're having to shave in a park bathroom without a mirror, or just stepping past 5 human shits to sit down and take a shit in the toilet. And that whole thing, there's a lot of wasted potential when it comes to addiction and to people. There's a lot of people out here that are brilliant people, but they're just so far into their addiction and into their homelessness and their stoicness about not looking for help, that their talents and their minds and their wisdom and their intelligence is wasted. I know a guy that's the guy, and his name is Aaron, and he lives on McHenry, and he was a communications officer in the Gulf War, and he's like a decorated guy, and he sits on a street corner with a sign, falling asleep, panhandling for food and probably heroin, yes, but he's a decorated war hero, and there he is, with a huge beard and dirty clothes, and people drive by, oh, look at that piece of shit over there, man, fucking junkie, but you don't know what he's seen, who he saw die, who he had to stuff a tampon into their gushing lung wound or whatever, what do you call that? There's a word for that, but the kind of chest wound. But anyways, I'm getting off on a tangent. That's the thing about it, is if you have an intelligence above 110, homelessness and drug addiction is super painful. It's super soul-wrenching. It's very, very emotionally painful. It's like dragging yourself through glass after you've peeled off the first 3 layers of skin. Every day your soul is going through needle caps and dog turds and broken glass, and it hurts. It hurts a lot emotionally, and that's why people turn to meth. That's why people or conversely turn to heroin, so they don't feel anything at all, and it's the only thing they know to help, because getting proper counseling or getting proper treatment is, I know people that won't go to a church for free food because they're scared to talk to normal people, because they feel like they're going to get judged as soon as they set foot on those grounds. And I've been there before. I felt like, how am I going to walk into this office and ask them, it's that fear of immediately being judged, of being the stigma of being homeless. It's a very painful thing. If you're an intelligent, feeling person, not actually a normal person, but they say I was gifted when I was younger. When I was in 5th grade, I took an IQ test, and I tested above genius, 150 or 160. I don't know how much of that is left now, but I saw this meme on Facebook. Like the guy said, I wish I lacked critical thinking. Y'all seem all the other people out here seem so happy. And that's kind of what it is if you have that critical thinking skills, if you're able to put two and two together and come up with it's rough. And my heart, I mean, homelessness and drug addiction and the mental illness, that whole trifecta is something I wouldn't wish on my worst enemy. It can happen to anyone in any walk of life. They could lose their job. They could become stricken with an illness that their insurance doesn't cover, and all their money goes to medical bills. I mean, they could go through a tragedy, losing a son, losing a daughter, losing a spouse. It really can happen to anybody, especially those without the familial, like in the family safety net, especially those that are estranged from their family, especially for loners. It's very difficult. People say, like, why don't you get off the streets and get off drugs and get a job? And that's, for example, it's going to start raining here in a couple weeks. Imagine walking around wearing the same clothes for a week, wearing the same wet pair of shoes, carrying all your wet blankets and all your wet clothes in your backpack, and walking into a job. Help wanted. Yeah, I'm here about the help wanted sign, and they look at you and they're like, no. I mean, you probably smell like mildew. You probably smell like BO. It's very difficult. The shelters here, there are shelters, but I think there's like 80 beds at the Gospel Mission, and I think they may have doubled some of the beds at the other shelter. I think it's like maybe like 160 now for men, but there's a lot more than 240 homeless guys in this town, way more, thousands upon thousands upon thousands. And so that's not always, or rarely, I should say, rarely is that ever an opportunity to get into a shelter. And even once you get into a shelter, you're surrounded by other homeless people that are on, majority, actually, I hate to say it, but the majority of them are on drugs too. So getting completely separated from the environment and away from all the triggers is almost an impossibility. I mean, I myself, a couple years ago, was out by I gravitated to my old neighborhood where I used to own a house at, and there I was wanting to go into the mountain mics over there where I used to work to apply for a job again, and I had, a 2-week beard. So I'm out front, asking a guy, hey, you got a couple bucks so I can go get me a couple razors? Why don't you get a fucking job? There's places all around here. I'm like, actually, I have an application in here. The grocery store I'm standing in front of, I know the manager. I've known him for 5 years, but they're not going to hire somebody that's got dirt underneath the fingernails. That is unwashed. It's very difficult to be job ready when you live in the outdoors. I mean, go camping for a week up in the foothills in the same pair of clothes for a week, and then show up to work on Monday and see if your boss sends you home or not.